Hi, everybody. Benita here with your December 2024 forecast. It's going to be really detailed, so I'm just going to take my time. And yeah, I'm using the book because there's so much going on here. So we'll begin. So we have the very first one. We have three die in our core today. It's kind of hard to see everything, but we'll do the best we can. So there's three die in the core, so that's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out. And the first one is the actions die. And it says, the burning blade is the face telling you to burn it to the ground and start again. When only the bones remain, blow their ashes away. We must begin again. So this is basically, it's good. We're going to see how it plays out with the other die here, but it's all about starting over. So that should prove to be very interesting. We'll see how they play out. The alchemist die is showing up under foundation. So I should show you these as we go. So there's the burning sword that's showing up in the core. The alchemist die has this symbol on it. Some of you will recognize that. And that's showing up under foundation. And that is iron. And it says it's much tougher to work with than bronze, but produce vastly more durable results. In a reading, iron speaks at its best to solidity, a defense coming from a person. I'm going to turn this a little bit more so you guys can see me. It can defend and attack on behalf of a person. It also comes from a person. It's a very human defense, physical, protective. So showing up under foundation, it's suggesting strength born of some of the challenges you've been facing. So the ability to protect either yourself or other people. And the alley die is showing up right here under the present. And you can see it's the I. And I whip through these. Okay. And it's the eye of truth. Um, Truth is shared every day in myriad ways. In a reading, it asks you to see something just for what it is. Stop placing unnecessary weight on things. Some things are more or less um, than we some things are more or less than we burden them with. So in other words, just it is what it is. Don't make it more than it is. So it's basically saying in this situation, the present. And a lot of times in the holidays, a lot of people's patterns kick in. So how much can you move into just being the observer of some of the drama that happens this year at the holidays and not necessarily getting pulled into it and engaging? The attentions die is showing up. Where are we here? Under the past. And it's the spotlight. So we see a little person here in the spotlight. And it's saying it's what so many want to be seen by everyone. It's also the horror of everything of being known. So in a reading, it announces this is the view of things. Many people, often who don't know you, now look on you, that you are in their conversations. They think about you in ways that are wrong or untrue in who you are because they've seen just a piece of you. So based on the past, we can be too preoccupied with how other people see us, how they see who we've been in the past. We're all growing, we're all changing. Um, we can often criticize ourselves for the past and hold ourselves back because of it. So I always say, instead of beating yourself up about the past, instead say, I'm so grateful because having done this, I've learned this and I can now apply it to new situations. It's so much healthier and so much more productive and constructive to do it that way instead of holding yourself back and holding your energy back based on who you've been in the past, which means you're actually holding back some of the energy you need to go forward and do things differently. Okay, I'm actually going to check something before I go any further because I know the fate die often changes things. I just want to see where it shows up so we know whether it's going to change how this reading is going to go. And the fate die this time is the cards. So it's basically a hand of cards showing up in the past. And it's basically saying it's the situation we've come to find it, no matter who did it or what things came to pass. It just is what we have now. So that's very interesting to me because it's showing up in the past along with the spotlight, which is saying, you can't help what people think about you or how they see you. Just let the past be what it's been. And we were learning that from our previous forecasts as well. Start to leave the past in the past. Don't drag it forward. A lot of times at the holidays, things get triggered, old patterns come up, and we find ourselves regressing. So we really want to try not to do that this holiday season. Try to let the past be the past. And if you're dealing with people who are trying to bring the past forward, respond differently. Don't give them the same response you've given before. That's how these patterns get reinforced. Instead, look for a different way to respond. Can you use humor? Can you deflect? Can you say, yeah, that's so far back in the past. I'd like to see where we are now. Let's talk about something current and pull the energy out of those old patterns and old conversations. Our autumn die is where that one might be the one that fell off of the mat. Nope, that's not the one. There's one that fell off the mat and won't be included today. So our autumn die. Oh, I see it. It's in Beyond, and it looks like that. And it's about change. So it's the element of transformation, where the transformation phase of the action die is much more aligned with personal change. Change phase is broader and can mean transformation of jobs, relationships, literal physical change going from rich to poor, or anything else. As a grand concept, it must be read with other die. Well, it's almost in a triangle with two other die. So let's see where that ends up. But because it's sitting under beyond, it's suggesting eventual change, not something right in our faces right now. Okay, the chaos die. I always love the chaos die to see what it's got up its sleeves for us now. And the symbol is kind of hard to make out in terms of what it is, and it's showing up under momentum. So it is the mirrored raven, and it's basically saying it waits until you've read the quarter it landed in, then it asks you to re-roll the dice in this quarter. What's changed? Is this a new path or important advice? That's yours to understand. So it is sitting in the quarter of the future. So after we finish, this is so cool because this is so different. I've not seen this one before. So after we finished looking at that quarter, and there's three other die in that quarter, we'll re-roll them and see how that changes the reading. Really glad I'm recording this. I want to see where this is taking us. That's really cool. Okay, the elements die is sitting under beyond right here. And you can see it's a little scythe. And it's called metal. In a reading, metal is will made manifest, or forged into a tool, strengthened, working, crafting, and in use. So when we look at it that way, it's saying that, and this is interesting because the way the die landed is we've got five die going from foundation and moving toward momentum. So we're going to see how they all line up. It's interesting because this one is about metal, will made manifest. And in the same line, we have the one iron and about being able to protect yourself and others. So this is very interesting. This is a very unique spread. I've never seen one quite like it, so I'm really excited to see where this takes us. So I did pull a card that goes with this unique set here, and the one that I pulled is called the Gambler. So she presides over the fate die, She's the chaser of highs. She sees where the greatest rush of feeling rests and where it will be next. She does not live in the same reality we do, does not experience human connection. Instead, she sees the highest wave to swim in and makes sure she's there. So, in this way, the gambler in our readings is this: a need for affection, adoration, joy, romance, the heights of all intense emotions. She's self care, she's self love, she's self adoration, and she's in love with life and herself and invites us to do so as well. I really like that. So, when we're looking at this overall, think of it that way. This is about self love. And so far, what we've seen is, burn away the past. That's what the core is telling us. Oh, and that's something I should actually check into. Because when I looked at that die, I don't believe I looked at what it means when it falls into the core. So we should find that out. In the core, race speaks to a driving, heavy necessity to burn it all down and start again. Whether or not this is the right thing to do, or whether or not is the danger of the romance of starting again, is to be read across the reading. But knowing that it's at the core of your mind warns you that it's coming one way or another. Where should this energy be directed or redirected? Locate the source of this and who's going to enact it, or everything you've made may be torn out from beneath you. So that's a very it's interesting. This card is very much about the heights of self-love, of ecstasy. There's all this energy around it. And there's all this energy just to burn down anything that's not working and start over. That's a really strong flip, as it were, in terms of intention. This year, if you've been following my forecast, it's sort of been a gradual working on the patterns and peeling off the layers. And now this feels so far very strong, very direct, no holds barred. So I'm excited to see where this is going to take us. Okay, and we already looked at the fate die, which was basically saying, things are what they are. The ones for the past, that one in the spotlight one, are saying you can't help what people think about you. Don't beat yourself up about the past. It is what it is. Move on. Which also fits with, burning things, raising them to the ground, and starting over again. Our goblin die is way up here in history. Here's the little dude. The goblin die is my favorite because they're just so cute. And it's called abnormality. And a reading abnormality draws attention to, anything that's abnormal, neurodivergent, and such. It passes no judgments, positive or negative, and it merely points to them as being relevant in the space. How the world reacts to our uniqueness may be in question, or how we accommodate, support, or hide it may also be presented. So I find it interesting that it is showing up under history, and under the past, it's pointing out the spotlight that, yeah, maybe people are talking about you. Maybe you're part of the conversation. Be okay with that. Don't get insecure about it. Don't beat yourself up about the past. Accept your idiosyncrasies as part of who you are. There's the expression, forgive yourself for being human, and move on. Integrate what you've learned and bring it forward. Okay, the influences die is showing up where it's showing up under momentum. And we have this little amoeba looking creature showing up here. And it's called the wobble wheel. So the wobble wheel shows good intentions that are a bit off, but that honestly do their best to be supportive and helpful. It represents something or an influence on you that will need to be updated or replaced eventually, but which is inherently there to support. So we see that under momentum. Now remember, it's part of the future, and it's therefore it and the two other die that go with it are going to be, we're going to be shaking those up and putting them down again. So the wobble wheel, that support that's there but maybe isn't totally productive, is likely to change. So we'll see what direction that takes us. The kindness is showing up under fated, and it shows a little stitch. It's so nice to see so many of you here, so thank you for joining me. So under stitches speaks to the need for mending, or the reminder of things that have been mended, and perhaps even who did it. So because it's showing up under fated, it makes me think of that line from A Midsummer Night's Dream, all is mended. So, it's it talk about, if we've offended, we hope all is mended. So it's the idea that in the end, everything does get sorted. In the end, we're all moving toward the light. So if there's major shifts occurring this month, don't take it all too seriously. You're a divine being having a human experience, one of many. It's just another storyline you agreed to play in to learn things. Don't get too caught up in the drama of it. Okay. The longings die. So the longings die shows up in the core. So we've already seen the one that says burn it all to the ground and start over. This is a little Buddha. And at the core, sanctity is what it's called, places the entire reading in a shrine. What is said here, read here, believes itself to be immutable. To make changes here requires a massive change in understanding and perspective, and this may be harder than is possible before the situation resolves. So, in other words, it's saying there's major shifts going on this month. You might not understand all of it right now, but it has to occur. Sometimes the universe has to pull the rug out from under us to get us to look at things in a new way. Some of you might be aware, for example, that a few weeks ago I was in the hospital with a heart rate of 22 and a lot of pain. It was quite an eye opener. Oh, love and light to you too, Lily. Thank you. I think the doctors and nurses were kind of shocked that with a heart rate of 22, I was walking, talking, and functioning. But they were concerned. So they run their tests, and who knows, maybe a year from now I'll be sporting a pacemaker. But it was really an interesting exercise for me in contemplating my mortality because, we go about our day and it's full of all our activities. But when you're in a situation where you've got a crash monitor attached to you and people are worried that, your heart's going to stop and not start again, it really makes you see, oh, yeah, I don't know if I have another 30 years. So, what am I doing with today? I've always loved the practice of death realization because it really makes you look at the fragility of the human experience and check in. Am I fully alive? Am I doing all the things I'm here to do? I'm back to feeling like my regular self and doing the things I would normally do. But that hiccup really made me do that work. And I think it's something that's valuable for all of us. Do you ever check in and say, okay, I'm not always going to be here. Am I learning all the things I'm here to learn? Am I making the contribution to the world I'm meant to make? Am I loving fully? And am I open or am I pulling away from life? Am I hiding in routine? Am I avoiding the unknown? This life is meant to be an adventure. So check in. It's like people, my mentor once said to me, don't worry, Benita, because eventually you're going to die. And it's actually kind of reassuring. It's like, well, life's going to kill me anyway. I might as well be here for the full experience and really embrace it fully. Um, and Lily says, I love when the universe sends us signs, right? And that was certainly a very interesting sign. It was very, very hard on my husband. I won't say it wasn't. It's really scary when you see somebody you love going through that. And there was an incredible amount of pain. I do have to say, Nanaimo General rocks. Like everybody was amazing. I was seen to right away. I was given painkillers right away. They really took their time to figure out what was going on, and the protocols they've given me are being really effective. So I'm pretty psyched about being in Nanaimo because the healthcare here has been amazing. So we landed well. It's a great community for us. Okay, so we've looked at sanctity. And now looking at the majors die, this is interesting. And this is a face I've never seen before. It's showing up under present, and you can see it's these two little figures. One's upside down and the other isn't. And we'll see what that is saying. And it's called loss. In a reading, it is just the part where something goes away forever and it cannot be gotten back. Only in rare cases does this mean death, but it can. Loss can occur when people leave your life. Loss can occur when you lose a part of yourself. Loss can occur when you're grieving your business, your project, your work's falling apart. Loss is difficult. So it's saying in the present, we have these two die, truth and loss. So there might be some experiences for a lot of us in December where we really face something that deeply affects us. It might be maybe this Christmas you're celebrating with a loved one not present who passed away in the last year. Maybe you're struggling with the loss of your work or a particular dream you've had, a particular aspiration. So try to be gentle with yourself through this time. Remember, the card was all about self-care and self-love. Um, but it is saying that there will, likely be some experience of loss this month. It might even be when you burn things to the ground, there's a letting go with that that's necessary to move on and go forward. Okay, the Mariner's die is the compass, and it is falling under the past as well. And it's basically saying it speaks to self-determination, setting your goals, and the feeling of being on the right track. So when we look at the three die that we got for the past, the hand dealt being accept what things are, the spotlight one being don't beat yourself up for the past, but learn from it and move forward, and the compass being about self-determination. So it's taking what you've learned from the past, accepting it as it is, not wishing it was different, and saying, so now how can I grow from those experiences of the past and not waste my energy beating myself up? And that's one of the things that happens when we go through some of these challenges. We realize I only have so much energy. How am I applying that energy? Am I wasting it on berating myself, or am I using that energy to heal and move forward? Right. And remember, this month is about self care. Okay. The metamorphosis die is in the future, and it's the butterfly. I know this one's really, really hard to see, so I understand if you can't make it out, but it is the full butterfly, not just the cocoon. And it says with this one, um, this is a stage of growth, but understand that unlike a butterfly whose life is so short, it's not the end of our growth. It's a massive step in it, so it should be loved and enjoyed. So we've got one more die in that section to read before we shuffle. We shake those three die again and see how the chaos die changes them. So far, we're seeing the wobbly wheel, that there's been help, there's been intent, but it's not always successful, but it's meant in the right way. But a major growth is also happening moving forward. So this is good. Whatever big changes we're having this month, it's going to lead to growth. So happy to see that. The obstacle die is in the core. So now we get to see how these three die interact and what they mean. So it says yet to come. That's the little clock there. And it says in the core of reading, it's founded on time. The reading is about the confluence of events and how they line up or don't, and what the fallout may be as a result. So we have this die saying this is like a shrine. This is sacred. The burning things to the ground, and then this die saying yet to come is basically saying, this is the time. Um, it says in a reading yet to come, views time as the thing keeping you from things you want as explicitly as a barrier as it can be. Things are not yet in the right place, so nothing's quite ready. So when I look at these three together, it's saying like there's like a holy burning things to the ground and starting over. So this is something that we're moving into this month is, whatever's not been working, this is nothing, there's nothing subtle about this. This might mean major changes in relationships. Maybe you leave a job, maybe you make a move, but there's nothing subtle. It's burning things to the ground that don't work for you in order to trigger that yet to come, in order to move into what you're supposed to do. And the sacred one suggests this is very much on your spiritual journey. It's part of the spiritual path. I think about, the Buddhist monks who get too possessive of their property. It might be just a little hut, just an alms bowl and their robes, but the other monks will throw all their goods into their hut and burn it to the ground when they see they've gotten too attached to their possessions. And then that monk thanks them for liberating him from his attachment because it was causing suffering. I suspect this month there will be some liberating from attachment. Okay, the relations die, and this is the last one in the future section. And it looks like this. And it says another. Another speaks of someone who means well and tries to do their best for you, but who oversteps their bounds and is controlling or manipulative. So I find this very interesting because we've got this dice saying this is about a big change. And then these two, which talk about people meaning well, but it's not productive and even manipulative. So now we're going to take these three and shake them and see what we end up with. So this is interesting. Now we've gone to the cocoon. So we're going to go back to that dice and see what we get with that. And it's actually, it says the egg. And it says it speaks to the cusp of beginning new journeys. Um, and then the next one is alone. So this one has changed. It's now the alone die. Um, it's what many people think of when they see the self face, being alone, just yourself. Um, and then the other die here, we have this image. And so we'll go back to that. See what we get. And that is arcane. Is no, it's not arcane. Hold on a second. That's same die, different face. It is sun and flower. It means exactly this: a purely supportive, positive relationship with a mentor, a parent, a guardian, a friend who just wants to see the querent grow. Or perhaps the querent is the sun, raising and supporting and lifting up another. In any case, it is entirely positive. So when we see these three now, it's saying a new beginning on your own. But if there is support for you, it's very positive. It's no longer dysfunctional. So either the person who's been being supported in a dysfunctional or manipulative way shifts and sees the change in you and responds to it and is a better support, or they drop away and somebody else comes in who's more reflective of the direction that you're moving as you're becoming more functional. It can also be that you're also able to support others because of the growth you're going through. So isn't that interesting? When we change those three die, how that whole scenario shifts out of something kind of helpful but mostly dysfunctional to something that's really saying, yeah, you're off doing your own thing now, and there's support for that. And I think that's pretty cool. And we have the spring die, and that one is the seed. It is off under inevitable. Actually, it probably goes like that. There you go. Or no, I guess that's the roots going down. So that was the right way. Under inevitable. And it says um, seed means excitement as we mold something original from ourselves. At its best, it's something we will do and thrive in. So remember how I said with fated, the stitch one is things being mended? It's saying it's inevitable that this is going to eventually work out well. If you do this work, it's eventually going to go well. The seed is saying, this is going to be a very positive experience. And the other one we had up here is the change one. And because those three are kind of in a triangle, it's saying, you're going to go through a lot this month, but it's leading you in a really good direction. So I think that's all very positive, even if there are challenges now. Um, the suits die is the one that didn't end up on the table, so we can ignore it. The summer die is in this line we have here. And you can see that's what it looks like. And it says radiance. So when this one shows up, it speaks to radiance, popularity, glory, and its downfall. So it's a sun, but it can be kind of excessive. So it's basically saying people want to look on to bask in the warmth of who you are. This can be fine. The difficulty comes with remembering that staring too long at something bright will hurt you. In other words, allow yourself the success but stay humble, stay grounded. So it's interesting that when we see we've got the five there, we've got the iron, we've got the metal, all about strength and determination. The sun saying, there's a lot of good energy in terms of what you're able to accomplish going forward. Just don't get, overconfident, stay grounded. Another one in that line is the winter one, and it is ice. It looks like that. And it says it's cold and unmoving. So interesting, we have this warm energy and then this cold energy. Sometimes comes for us like a wall. It feels impassable and the weight of it feels unstoppable. Everything slows down. People go out less and the world feels a little bit lonelier. Thing to remember about ice is that with work chipping it away, warming it in your hands, with our breath, we can free what it covers. Things are not taken from us forever, even if winter can make it feel that way in the height of its throes. So it's basically suggesting here, from what we can see so far, you know, the iron is that developing that protective energy based on the things that have been hard, and that energy is being supported by the sun. By there's this, you start to believe in yourself, you get stronger, and then you hit a wall. And how often does this happen when we're doing the spiritual work? Oh my God, I've got it. I'm done. I'm enlightened. I'm good for life now. And then it's time to peel the next layer of the onion. Oh, you hit that wall. You got to look at that. And a lot of times we go, oh my God, am I really here again? But it's because the patterns get more subtle as we work on them, and there's more work to be done. So this ice often indicates something really important for us to know, but we have to break through that wall to discover it. And that's when we get to the metal, where we develop the self-determination to go forward with the knowledge that we gained from doing that work. And the wounds die, the last one here, interesting, is the first one in this line. So we got a little dude here with an arrow through his head, and it's called arrow. In a reading, arrow calls it something that's stuck under the skin, a pain, a wound, a cruel barb from a throwaway argument that resides beneath the entirety of the situation at hand. Sometimes well-meaning comments stay as long-lasting fears. So this is a very interesting little journey we have here. It's saying, how we learned in the history, don't keep mulling these things over, move on. So this one's saying you got that wound you're still stuck on, but the iron is saying learn from that, grow from that, learn how to protect yourself. And protection doesn't mean protection from people. It means sometimes you have to speak up and say, hey, you crossed a line with me. It's not working for me. This needs to change. And then the sun means you start to develop the confidence, the voice to speak up for yourself and believe in yourself. And when you do, people will tend to pay attention, or if they don't want to listen, they'll drop away, and new people will come in who are a reflection of the person you're becoming. And then we have the ice saying you're going to hit a wall again. There's going to be stuff come up, and you go, geez, what is this about? But if you keep doing the work you're learning to do, you'll have that breakthrough, you'll have that realization that will lead you to self-determination to keep going. So when I look at this overall, there's so much growth happening in this month, but there's going to be challenges. There may be loss. This is the month where you really learn to nurture, believe in yourself, speak up, and accept that it might cause some challenges in your world, challenges in your relationships. But in the end, it's going to work out because you will have become the person you came here to be. This is all leading to you no longer working from your um, conditioned mind that's been conditioned since early childhood. It's you starting to operate from your original consciousness that's willing to have things burn to the ground and change around you if it means getting on the path you came here to walk. So we've got challenges this month. We've got growth this month, and the growth is very much your own growth, but there will be support, but it will be really constructive support. And that being said, if I can be your support, I would be happy to be. I'm continuing to work and do what I always do. I can see you by Zoom. I can see you in person at my lovely office in the old city quarter of Nanaimo. If this speaks to you and you're wondering, well, how do I get the tools to do this work? I got them. I've been at this for over 40 years, and I can definitely help you to access what needs to shift in you and help you to make those changes. Because if you want the world around you to change, it all starts with an internal shift first. And I can help you get there. Thanks very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you next month. Bye for now.